He is an Oscar and Emmy-winning filmmaker. His latest, starring Denzel Washington.
In a world where Hollywood once silenced stories that didn't fit its perfect image, one man picked up a camera and demanded to be heard. His name, Spike Lee. Before diversity became a buzzword, before social justice was trending online, Spike was already turning raw anger and truth into art, forcing America to look at itself in the mirror. His films weren't just entertainment, they were a revolution on screen. From the burning streets of Do the Right Thing to the haunting legacy of Malcolm X, Spike Lee's voice has echoed through decades of controversy and creativity. But behind the iconic glasses and fiery interviews lies a complex man, loved, hated, misunderstood. Who changed cinema forever? How did a film student from Brooklyn become one of the most powerful and polarizing storytellers in Hollywood? How did his art turn pain into purpose and conflict into conversation? This is the untold story of Spike Lee, the visionary rebel who never waited for permission to speak truth to power. Spike Lee was born Shelton Jackson Lee on March 20, 1957, in Atlanta, Georgia. But his true story began in the bustling neighborhoods of Brooklyn, New York. His father, Bill Lee, was a jazz musician who filled the house with rhythm and soul, while his mother, Jacqueline, was a teacher of arts and literature. From their living room to the city streets, young Spike absorbed both the beauty and the pain of being black in America. When he was still a boy, the family moved to Brooklyn's Fort Greene, a melting pot of cultures, vibrant yet scarred by poverty and racial tension. There, Spike learned early that art could be a weapon. His mother often told him, "Don't ever let anyone define your story for you." But tragedy struck when she passed away while Spike was still a teenager. Her death left a wound that never fully healed, but it also ignited a fire inside him. He would carry her belief in the power of education and self-expression for the rest of his life. Growing up in a country divided by race, Spike's childhood wasn't just about survival. It was the birth of a rebellious observer, a young man watching, questioning, and preparing to speak for those who couldn't. Spike Lee's journey into filmmaking didn't begin with Hollywood lights. It started with a borrowed Super 8 camera and a restless vision. While studying at Morehouse College, a historically black university in Atlanta, Spike began shooting short documentaries about campus life, social unrest, and everyday struggle. His professors saw raw talent, but also defiance. Spike didn't just want to make films, he wanted to make a point. After graduating, he pursued a master's degree at the Tisch School of the Arts at NYU, where his voice sharpened into something unmistakably his own. His student thesis film, Joe's Bed-Stuy Barbershop, We Cut Heads, became the first student film ever shown at Lincoln Center, marking the arrival of a new storyteller who wasn't afraid to speak truth through the lens. Then came She's Gotta Have It, 1986, a low-budget independent film shot in just 12 days with a $175,000 loan. The movie grossed over $7 million, catapulting Spike Lee into the national spotlight. It was bold, sexual, unapologetically black, and, for Hollywood, shockingly honest. In an industry dominated by white narratives, Spike Lee had done the unthinkable. He made a film for his community, by his community, and the world was forced to watch. With She's Gotta Have It proving that authentic black stories could sell, Spike Lee quickly became a filmmaker with something to prove, and a nation to challenge. His next films weren't just cinematic projects, they were social detonators. In 1989, he released Do the Right Thing, a film set on a single scorching day in Brooklyn, where racial tensions explode into violence. It wasn't just a movie, it was a mirror held up to America. The film's ending sparked debates across newsrooms, classrooms, and living rooms nationwide. Critics called it a masterpiece of moral chaos. Others accused Spike of inciting division, but everyone was talking about it. And that was exactly what he wanted. Then came Malcolm X, 1992, a monumental biopic starring Denzel Washington. The film was powerful, poetic, and unapologetically political, a love letter to black resilience and identity. Spike fought studios for creative control, demanded respect for Malcolm's legacy, and delivered what many call his magnum opus. By the mid-1990s, Spike Lee had become more than a director. He was a cultural lightning rod, producing hit after hit. Jungle Fever, Mo Better Blues, Clockers. He blended music, color, and movement like jazz, redefining what black cinema could be. Hollywood finally had to admit it. Spike Lee wasn't a passing trend. He was a revolution in motion, one that would change the language of film forever. For Spike Lee, success never came without conflict. The same voice that made him a visionary also made him a target. He spoke out, loudly, against racism in Hollywood, calling out studios, critics, and even fellow filmmakers. And in an industry built on silence and diplomacy, Spike's honesty was explosive. His outspoken nature led to feuds with movie icons like Clint Eastwood, Quentin Tarantino, and even fellow black directors. He accused Hollywood of exploiting black pain while silencing black creators. Tarantino's use of racial slurs in Django Unchained drew his sharp criticism, to which Spike famously said, "I'm not against Django, I'm against the word." But the media often painted him as angry, difficult, or too radical. His films were labeled controversial, his interviews dissected for soundbites. When Bamboozled, 2000, a biting satire on racial stereotypes in television, hit theaters, audiences were divided. Many couldn't decide whether Spike was a genius or a provocateur. Financially, the 2000s were uneven. Studios grew wary of his intensity, and Spike's films, though critically strong, struggled to find funding. Yet even during setbacks, he never changed his message. He kept teaching at NYU, mentoring young filmmakers, and producing indie projects that defied Hollywood norms. Spike Lee wasn't just making movies anymore. He was fighting a system, one that profited from his culture, but rarely empowered it. After decades of being Hollywood's loudest conscience, Spike Lee faced a new challenge, staying relevant in an era obsessed with franchises and streaming algorithms. But if history had taught anything, it was this: Spike Lee never fades quietly. In 2018, he made a stunning return with Black Klansman, the unbelievable true story of a black detective who infiltrated the Ku Klux Klan. The film was a masterclass in satire and tension, balancing absurd humor with painful truth. It premiered at Cannes, earning an 8-minute standing ovation and Spike's first-ever Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay. This wasn't just a comeback, it was vindication. The rebel from Brooklyn had finally received the recognition he had been denied for decades. Beyond the awards, Spike embraced a new role as a mentor and cultural elder. As a professor at NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, he became a guiding light for the next generation of storytellers, teaching them not to imitate Hollywood, but to challenge it. And in true Spike Lee fashion, he never softened. His later works, from Da 5 Bloods to Chirac, continued to push boundaries, politically fierce, emotionally raw, and cinematically fearless. Spike Lee was no longer just a filmmaker. He had become a movement wrapped in a man. Today, Spike Lee stands as more than a filmmaker. He's a cultural architect. His lens redefined what it means to tell a black story in America, not as tragedy, but as truth. Every frame he's ever shot carries the rhythm of protest, poetry, and pride. He forced Hollywood to confront its own hypocrisy, to look beyond tokenism, and to acknowledge that representation is not a trend, it's a necessity. His influence stretches from the streets of Brooklyn to classrooms and film sets around the world. Generations of directors, from Ryan Coogler to Ava DuVernay, walk through the doors he kicked open. For all his controversies, Spike Lee never stopped believing in one thing: the power of cinema to spark change. His films remind us that art is not safe. It's not meant to please. It's meant to provoke. Spike Lee's journey is proof that rebellion can be righteous, that one voice, when armed with truth, can echo through history. Han tren kua Spike Lee lamin. Chung rang ki ban ke kau chuyen kua min bang tat ka traitim. Kadagioy se fai lang nahe. If his story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because some stories deserve to be heard again and again.